Hey everyone, today we are doing Spider from HackTheBox, a hard-rated machine. Straight away we can see there are two ports open, AT and 22, so that is SSH and HTTP, or a web application. I'm going to go ahead and do something a little bit different here, and can go ahead and set a HTTP proxy here. What this will do is it will route any traffic via this port on the localhost via burp. The reason this works is because in burp I have configured to basically listen on localhost 8080, and that will then go ahead and basically pass it all through. You can see here we don't have a target right now. If I go ahead and go to GoBuster, hit enter on there, and now we should see in burp, it should now populate without us even going there. Give it a few seconds and you'll see a few other things pop in here and there. Very cool. For the sake of my computer fans not getting too loud, I'm going to go ahead and just cancel that stuff there, just because I already know what to look for in this case, and it's not really worth blowing my computer up for. Alright, cool. So we've killed everything there. I'm going to go ahead and run whatweb to see what else is on there. So we have Ubuntu, Nginx, some kind of title. Nothing super obvious as to what's running, but still interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the actual application itself. Go to it. Because here's some kind of shop website. Immediately when I looked at the site, I was like, oh, this is interesting. There's a % discount %. Does that mean anything? I didn't think it meant anything at the start, but I think it was a hint in a way to refer to the kind of attack this particular web app has, but we'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so what do I see? So immediately what I want to do is go ahead and basically enumerate the web app, really. I want to go ahead and see what it can do. So I go over to chair, I'm going to add quantity of 2, add to cart. Okay, what happened there? Go ahead into my inspect element, go ahead into my storage, go ahead and take this, and I want to go ahead and basically look at the cookie. I'm going to go into decoder, paste that in there, decode as base64, put this to text, and we can see here we have cart items 1 and then some string. So not very much help, but we can at least see roughly how the cookie is working. Alright, so now we know how that kind of works, I'm going to go ahead and try out some other functionality. So there's a register function, I'm going to go over there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put a namer in there, so I'm going to go ahead and put in secaura, and secaura. Go ahead and hit submit. We've been given some kind of UUID. This is basically a unique ID that you can't really brute force, at least not very easily. It's almost quite impossible to get a collision on there, but anyways, going to go ahead and log in with my password. So this is my username effectively. I need to know this username to log in, which will play a key part later. Go ahead and hit submit, and I am logged in as secaura. So what have I unlocked is user information, and interestingly, it gives me my username and it also gives me a UUID. Now, at first, when I first looked at this, I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, my name is basically being reflected back at me. What can I do with that? And because of the process is a little bit slow, it's not like a case of create account, get automatically logged in, and then, you know, then I can view here. It's quite a multi-step process where I have to go ahead and create an account, get the UUID, log in, and then view the user information. So it's a little bit annoying, but that's okay. We can go ahead and take that and we'll deal with it. So how I approach this after enumerating the rest of the web app was, all right, okay, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and see what can I do with this user information thing, you know, what works. So I'm going to go ahead and basically script it. So this part isn't required, but I thought it might be beneficial if I showed it. So I'm going to go ahead into my temp directory here, code, we're going to go ahead and call it fuzz.py. Now, we know really the process for how this works. So we know that there's going to be a dev login. There's going to be a create an account. There also needs to be a get the user. And we also need to basically extract the UUID. So we're going to go ahead and grab UUID. So really what that means is we want to go ahead and create an account. We'll go ahead and just put these in order of which way they're going to be run. Grab an account. Create an account. Grab the UUID from that account. Log in with that, and then go to user. And what that will mean is then we can view how the application responds. Now, to save time of me, you know, typing this all out manually, I've I have written these already, but I'll go ahead and just show you the initial process for how to do the request aspects. I'm going to go ahead and define main. This will just basically host the main stuff, the main code. I'm going to go ahead and now output this. So what I will now do is I will go ahead over to logout, create a fresh login. So go to register. I want to go ahead and ensure my burp is listening. Go to proxy, go to intercept. Intercept is on. Create an account. Doesn't really matter what it's called. In my case, I'm going to call it Sakura. And basically just paste this like that. We should now have this request. Now there are two ways we can do this. We can go ahead and copy this as curl and then pass it into this website here, curl to Python, but that's a little bit sloppy. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use a burp extension, copy as Python requests. We can just use a normal request in this case, paste it in here. And you go ahead and just remove the import requests, put it up here. Remove the indentation. All right, let's see what we have here. So we don't really need the cookie. I want to go ahead and remove that, just make it cleaner. All right, so we want to go ahead and basically fuzz the usernames. So I'm going to go ahead and just put fuzz here and fuzz here. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and set fuzz to be, say, Sakura in my case, just for clarity as to how this is working. All right, so that's now going to go ahead and create as an account. Now what we need to go ahead and do is upon the account creation, we need to go ahead and pull the UUID. So I'm going to go ahead and assign the response of this to the variable r. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do and then is pass the r object. In my case, the r object hosts, say, the response of the page, the status, and that kind of thing. Basically, it hosts all information regarding our request. I'm going to go ahead and pass that r into grab UUID. So grab UUID r.text. And then what that will do then is it'll basically just pass the response of this into here. Now we haven't written any code for this, but we'll get there in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and just put pass in here, just so Python doesn't yell at us. And I'm going to go ahead and just demo how that's working. The reason I've written these function out in hand, first of all, is so that basically you can see my thought process as to how I'm going to go ahead and build it out. I'm going to go ahead and just print r.text so you can see what happens basically. We need to go ahead and call the function, create account, go ahead and have a go. So Python free fuzz.py. And what that's happened now is we can see basically this is a response. And what we can see is that we have this UUID value. If I go ahead and run this again, we'll get another UUID value. See? So we want to go ahead and basically extract that. It's very important for our next step for the login process. Okay, so how do we do that? So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and use regex. So regex is basically an almost language which will allow us to write a sequence of characters or a pattern to refer to a certain string of text. And what that means basically is we want to go ahead and say grab this content in this pattern, really. And we don't want to grab, say, this part. We want to ensure we're grabbing the right part. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go ahead into regex.io. Regex 101, sorry. Go ahead and turn my proxy off. I should probably enable my proxy to only scope HackTheBox stuff, but that's okay for now. I'm going to go ahead and just actually grab a bit more than what I need. That way I know it's definitely going to work. So I grab this. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in there. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Paste there. Go ahead and just set this to Python. Go ahead and just remove the bits that don't really matter. So we don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and escape that and that and there. And now we should have a match for this, but we don't really, this will only match this static string. I'm going to go ahead and remove that part. Use open brackets for a capture group. Basically, this is saying, hey, grab this content only. So this whole thing is capture group 0, and then this is capture group 1, at least in Python terms when I get through to that part. So this will basically take our code and take the response and extract the UUID from it. So I've already done this part, so I'm going to go ahead and just paste it in there. As you'll see here in a second, should be able to get that UUID. It takes the text as an input, so we need to put that there. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and just going to remove the... actually, I can keep this here, so I can go ahead and just print the contents of that just to show you how it looks. Go ahead and rerun this, and hopefully it will give us a UUID. And in fact, it does. If I run this again, you'll see we get a different UUID. You can see the UUID is here, and the UUID is there. So you can see it's the same. I'm going to go ahead and now remove that part, so the r.text. And we can see every time now we run, we get the new UUID. Now the next step is to log in. So simply what we want to go ahead and do is the same process in burp, go ahead and basically just capture the login aspect. So go over here, go to here, type in SecAura, go ahead into burp, go ahead into intercept. Before I do that though, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure it only captures if it's the target scope. Cool, go ahead and intercept, hit submit, capture this, right click, go to extensions, copy as Python requests. Now, what we want to do here is take it as a session object. Basically, what this will do is when we log in, it will then store the cookie in the session object within the requests Python module. You might not have copy as Python requests within burp. Simply, you can just go to extender, which should be somewhere in here. If I can see that we get extender, go to B App Store, and then find copy to Python. I believe it's free, so it should be okay. Free in terms of the community edition should support it, is what I mean. All right, so we have that. I'm going to go ahead into my fuzz, go ahead into login, paste, remove this, paste that there. I'm going to go ahead and remove this session because basically it might mess this up in the future, so I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, replace this with a UUID. UUID, cool, and then the password can be, in this case, SecAura, it doesn't really matter, we'll keep it the same. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and post. I'm going to go ahead and assign this to R, and then I'm going to go ahead and then print once that's done there. Let's say r.cookies. Just check it works, so we want to go ahead and pass the UUID into there. Then we want to go ahead and take this UUID equals this. In fact, what really we can do is we can just return it. Return, grab UUID there. This will then put it there. UUID equals create account. And then what we want to do then is then go to login. Passing in the UUID. And then we should, that should now work. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit run. But cookies is not defined. That's because I removed it. We'll remove this too. Cool. Go to here. Right, look, now we have a cookie. If I go ahead and use that cookie, it should log me in. I'll show you here. So I'm going to go ahead and disable my burp proxy. I'm going to go ahead and log out. I'm going to go ahead into my right click, inspect element, storage, replace this cookie here, replace, and now we're logged in as fuzz. Make sense? Hopefully it does. Alrighty. So in my case, we have these killer braces. That is because I actually wrote it literally rather than using Python's format string like this. To be fair, we don't really need those anyway. I can just remove that so it looks like this. That should now work. I'm going to go ahead and for sake of showing this works, I'm going to go to the R text. Go ahead and hit enter on here, submit. I messed that one up. Remove the S from the fuzz. Alright, cool. Let's run this again. And again, mess something up. That's because it's got a double quote. Remove, cool. Hopefully that now works. Alright, cool. If I go ahead and just go like grep welcome -I in there, we can see here welcome to, okay, maybe not. Where does it say my name? Log out. We want to look for in, perhaps. Was it logged? I think it was logged. That should probably work. Yeah, so logged in as SecAura. In my case, that's the name of the account. If I go ahead and change SecAura to be something else, say for example, SecAura1. Go ahead and rerun it again. No, I should say SecAura1. Cool. So we'll stick with SecAura for the sake of consistency. And now we have a login. Now we want to go to the final part of get user. Simply what we want to go ahead and do is just make a simple GET request to that page. But for consistency, I'm going to go ahead and just, use burp again. Go to user information, copy, request in browser, not that. Copy as Python request, copy as requests, and just paste it in. Boom. We don't need half the stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and just put it in there anyway. Remove the cookies, because we don't want to make the request with that. We want to make the request with the session instead. That way it will then be able to get there from there. To be honest, we don't even really need to do half the stuff anyway. I'm actually just going to save myself the effort here. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep it as a modular. That way it's consistent. I'm going to go ahead and pass the session in here. The reason this works basically is because when we log in, we create a session, and then when we log in here, we assign that to the session, and then we want to go ahead and return the session like this. And then we want to go ahead and just put session equals here. That stores it there. And then when we go ahead to get to user, we can then pass it the session. All right, cool. And then we want to go ahead and just take that and pass it into here. All right, then we print r.text again, just to see what's happening on the page. Go ahead here, and but cookies not defined. That is because I removed it. We don't want the cookies because we don't need them, as we have a session to that work for us. I need to remove this. All right, cool. Different page this time, and we can see here we have a new UUID. Now, interestingly, now that I control this, I can now control this this variable here. So if I now say change the word Sakura to be say this, or maybe change it to subscribe. If I can spell it right, subscribe. Still can't spell it right, subscribe. Go ahead and run that again. And now we can see that this value is equal to subscribe. All right, so we don't really care too much about that. But what I care about is enumerating this. The reason I wrote this in Python is because that way I can basically pass the script in there, and it'll do most of the work for us. All right, so what I want to do now is, with the get user details thing, I basically want to just extract just this value here. So if I go into here, this is actually a bit overkill, this bit of code here. I probably should have written this manually, but it's okay. Not this bit of code, the bit above that. I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. So basically what we're after is this name. So name equals this. And then if ID here, and then name. I'm going to go ahead and, just for the sake of this, print the result of this like that, and then we should s is not defined. That is because I messed something up. S.text, it should be r.text. Go ahead and hit send, and now we get subscribe. All right, cool. So if we change this value here to something else, it will then change there. So, but I don't want fuzz to be set manually, set statically. I want to be able to control fuzz. I'm going to go ahead and pass fuzz into there. Fuzz is not there. So now what I want to go and do is put a while loop in there. While true, paste this here, and then go input, input, and then some user input there. I'm going to go ahead and run this again. I'm going to prepend RR wrap to it, as you probably see is a common thing in my videos now. Run that there, and then now if we do like A, we should now get A back. Hello, we should now get hello back. Now the interesting thing, as a sneak peek to an exploit, is if we try this. What are we going to get if we try this? Well, we get something else. I'll show that later. All right, so now we have control over the username. Now what we want to do is we want to do what's called, or at least enumerate for some kind of vulnerability. So what I did is I basically replaced this input with basically just a word list. In my case, I'll go ahead and just drop that in there. Replace the while true with this instead. Basically what this will do is just, it will open this template engine's word list as f. So this f object will now contain the file. And then we can then iterate through the f object line by line, basically saying for every line in this file, we want to then take the line, we want to strip the new line from it because it's not going to work otherwise, and then pass it into there. I'm going to go ahead and change this to be fuzz. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this, separate it, And just, I know this is a little bit janky, but obviously this is like a dev thing. Go ahead and remove this and just change this to be fuzz. All right, so now if we rerun this, we should now start doing stuff. Okay, now we're getting an error saying too many requests. The reason we got that is because some kind of error happened and it basically just returned all of the contents. I'll show you in a second. See here, if we don't get a result back, we're just returning all the text. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that there. It basically is an error thing. What we can see here, basically what's happening is we're sending too many requests. You'll see here. We get I saw an error somewhere around here saying basically sending too many requests. Can't quite see. Yeah, too many requests, 3 per 1 second. So we need to go ahead and import time. Import time. I'm going to go ahead and basically add in something to slow that down. So I'm going to go time.sleep and basically add in just something to slow the time down. 0.7, for example. I know we can send 3 requests a second, but it seems to mess it up. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it, I don't know, 0.5. That should be okay. Go ahead and hit that there. And see what we get. Okay, we're getting, I'm going to go ahead and remove the r.text stuff since it's getting in the way. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll comment that one out. And if we don't get anything, we'll just return. We'll just return none. Cool. That should now give us a bit of a cleaner output. Although we can't really see what we're typing in, so I'm going to go ahead and just make it a little bit more cleaner. Basically just print, so this is basically the output. I want to go ahead and basically print fuzz, then some kind of arrow to point what we did, and then that. And then now we can see what's happening. So 42 times 42 is that. However, double bracket 42 times 42 gives us a number. That is because it's evaluating our number. All right, so how did I know how to find this? Well, I didn't, first of all. I had a few ideas when I saw this page here with this discount percent. That's what gave me a rough idea later on. However, I did not realize it immediately. But once I've basically once I have enumeration of this, I can pass into whatever I want. I could change this to say Rocky or some other kind of word list. And that's pretty much what I did. I just spammed a bunch of stuff until it gave me what I wanted. In this case, it gave me a hint here as 42 by 42 is 176. We can go ahead and then do some more manual fuzzing and basically just check that things are working by, I know, a bit janky, I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and just remove this. Go ahead and unindent it. Actually, you want to go ahead and just put this like that. Oh, this is janky, but it is what it is. All right, and that should now work. I want to go ahead and then now run this through here, and now we can go ahead and basically pass and say 1337 times 1337. We get an error, fuzz is not defined. That is because we are doing that there. I'm going to go ahead and assign this input to fuzz. Probably should have done that originally, but it is what it is. Fuzz equals that. All right. And then pass fuzz into it. Oh, cool. All right, fine. Run that. Go to what we did before. We get a none. The reason that didn't work is because it's greater than 10 characters. Let's remove this to be 13 by 13. Get 169. If we say do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we get that response back. But then if we do, say, 0, we'll get that back. But if we do 1, we'll get a none. You see how it only allows up to 10 characters. And we know that it only allows up to 10 characters because in the logout, turn off my burp, when you register, it says here, if you spam a bunch of characters, like here, we get an error saying username cannot be longer than 10 characters, which basically means we can't do any like fancy SSTI payloads. And when I say SSTI, I mean server-side template injection. Okay, so what can we do? Well, I didn't really know at this point, but after basically looking at Jinja stuff, it sounded weird. After looking at basically server-side template injection stuff, I was able to find a nice page that I will go to here that talks about some variables. Go to that now. Flask and Jinja. So Flask and Jinja 2 are quite similar. So they kind of share the underlying language syntax. Going past this, we have a few global variables. I simply just tried basically wrapping it in the template string. So this basically says like templates, similar to how in Python you can use. I can replace this whole thing here with a template like that. I can remove this there, like that, and then I can then make that string, put an F in front of it. That will now act as a template. This one I can get there. That will now basically act as an template. Say, hey, this variable here, I want you to print it out in the format in this F string, and it will work as normal. I'll go ahead and just copy this and you'll see. I knew I'd messed something up there. It's because I had the extra thing. Has that worked? No, it's because I need to do that, and then close it. I'm thinking I'm just being blind, but that should work. All right, so let's have another go. So I'll try like config. Actually, I'll just try like some numbers, see if we get the output back, even though we're using this format string in Python. Well, server-side template injection or Flask has a very similar language where we use these double curly braces. All right, so to keep things moving, I'm going to go ahead and hit config, simply just trying it out, and it's under 10 characters. We get a bunch of content back. We can just simply grab this, copy, open up burp, go to decoder, paste, go to decode as HTML, copy that, go into here, go to file new, paste that in there, Control H, take every comma, press Shift Enter, hold Enter then, and then now we have a full output of all the content. But that's a little bit hard to read, and it also takes a bit of time to do that. So I basically would just add in a little bit of code to that work for me. It will basically just HTML decode the content as it comes back. Let's chuck that in here like that. I wrote a function basically to handle in case there isn't an escape sequence available, in case it doesn't want to work. And then I think we need to then also import HTML in the process. So we paste that in there. Now, if we rerun this code, I messed something up due to indentation. As per usual with Python, cool. Rerun this. And then we run config again. That didn't work because we didn't actually tell it to HTML decode the contents. We'll go ahead and do that now. So I want to go ahead and just put that there. It's a little bit janky, but hey, if it works, it works. All right, cool. Let's run this again. And there we go. Now it's done the HTML decode. It's a little bit it still doesn't do the new lines, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just pipe this into lolcat so it looks a little bit nicer. Well, I don't know how nice it looks. I guess is debatable, but it is what it is. All right, my new phrase apparently. All right, so we can basically see a bunch of environment variables, namely the environment variable I care about is this secret key. Now, if we Google secret key and the word Flask, basically what it will tell us is what it does. Basically, the secret key is used to sign cookies and that kind of thing. This Stack Overflow page may tell me, it may not, but basically, yes, it does what a secret key, or how do I create a signed cookie. Basically, much like with JWTs, if you're familiar with those, Flask will basically create a cookie, and then it will need a secret key to sign it. That way you can't just take the secret key, modify it, re-upload it, and it works. You need to have the signing key. It's a little bit basically of some defense in depth, where basically by having the signing key, it means that you can't forge your own token. Okay, so if we have that, what can we do with it? I'm going to go ahead and copy this into my HackTheBox notes here. I have here some bits from the time I did the box before, just to refer to in case I need to copy any commands or whatever, or just to basically mute the video on. All right. For some reason, this is called monitors vid. I'm just going to go ahead and just change that to be what it's actually supposed to be called, spider vid. All right, no worries. Back to where we were. So I've got the key now. I haven't done much of Flask development before. Like I've written a few Flask programs, but haven't actually had cookies and stuff in them. I came across I think it's called Flask-unsign, which is a penetration testing Python module that will basically help with a lot of the work. So command line tool to fetch, decode, brute force, and craft session cookies of a Flask application by guessing correct cookies. We don't particularly need to do the brute forcing since we already have the key here, but it's nice to know that it supports it. So I went ahead and basically ran this, which now gives us access to go ahead and open up here, Flask-unsign. And then basically that will now work. So we need to go ahead and basically decode or encode or whatever, some kind of cookie. In my case, what I want to go ahead and do is I want to use it in Python. Maybe jumping the gun a little bit there with why, but I'll show you how it works first, basically. We give it a cookie and this the string, and it will let us sign it. So if you look in the example here, if there is one, I believe there should be, yes. We can basically decode a cookie and it will tell us what it means. So I'll show you that in here. So decode. In fact, I can use an old one. I'm going to go ahead and remove this last little bit here. We can go ahead and actually that's from somewhere else. Actually, ignore that one. We can decode a cookie. I'm going to go ahead and do this fresh. Go ahead and paste in our cookie. We have a cookie probably from one of our requests. Repeater, oh never mind, I don't have one, that's annoying. I go to here, go to right click, actually we have one here, copy that. We paste it into here. And we see we get cart items is empty. Basically it decodes the cookie. Now if we wanted to go ahead and use our own cookie, we'd have to go ahead and sign that. And since we know the signing key, we can do that. So I didn't really want to do this whole Flask-unsign stuff. There is a way you can get around it using SQLmap, where basically you can process a string using some Python code or whatever, some bash or whatever on every single request it makes, basically to sign it. But I didn't want to do that, and also I didn't find out afterwards, to be honest. I did it the long way, but honestly I find the longer way happens to be the most learning, the best opportunity to learn. Alright, so moving on. So what I did is basically I want to first of all know how it works. So since it's a Python module, it probably supports Python locally. So I'm going to go ahead and open up an interactive session. Leave it's -I. Cool. Using Python there, I went to import Flask-unsign, and that worked. Then I went to Flask-unsign here, and it told me the location. So I opened this location up in my code. Go ahead and open up a new one. Code, paste this here. I didn't even, that's annoying, that's not what I wanted. All right, where was I? Should have copied that, I did not. Copy. Screw it. Code. Paste. All right, cool. So now we can see where we're at. So this is the init file. This will basically initialize the module. If we go back a directory, we can see that there's this here, and we can see some of the other parts. We have a session.py, and we can see if we scroll down, we have a sign. Sign's a custom session value with a known secret. Awesome. So that's what we want, really. What I can do now is I can basically create a secret and sign it. We can do this as an example in our interactive Python. So I can go to import from Flask-unsign, import session. Cool. And now I can go to session, and that should now tell me it's there. Cool. I can now go to session. I think it's session.sign. Then a string. So in my case, I could just give it, say, a b or a dictionary, sorry, and then the string. So AAA, and then close it off there. And that will then it didn't like that because I'm not sure why it didn't like it. Session.sign AB AAA. Why didn't that work? Name a, oh sorry, my bad, it's because this isn't stringed. I was looking at this AAA, I was confused. Right, enter. All right, so that's now basically signed this dictionary using this key. All right, so how about we now go ahead and take that what we had before, that cart, we go ahead and use that as a dictionary. We hit paste. Cool. And then we want to go ahead and sign it with our key, or the key that we just stole a minute ago. Copy. Paste. All right, so now we have this. Interesting. If I go ahead and copy this, and I exit out of here, and I go echo the original string, and I base 64 decode it, you'll see that it kind of says base, it says kind of says car items. If I then go to the previous one we looked at, which was this one, if we look at the string, it's basically the same: EYJJ YXJOX. EYJJ YXJOX. It's basically the same. If you really want to compare the two, we can probably just echo both. So I'm going to go ahead and echo this one, and then going to go ahead and just echo this one, so we can have a closer look at it. It's probably not the best way to demonstrate, but see EYJJ YXJOX 2 LOZ, etc., etc. If I now go ahead and do the same thing, but I use a different signing string, wherever it was, go back into Python. Yeah, there we go. Go ahead and input a session. I'm going to go ahead and pull my terminal up a little bit. Go ahead and now sign this with just a single character missing. We get a completely different string. At least we get a, our string is slightly different. The start part appears to be the same. In fact, I'm not quite sure. Okay, yeah, I think I understand it now. Actually, it's the start part is the same, but it's a case of the signing that matters. It's more for me to learn, but basically the point I'm trying to make is we can create this, and then we can sign it with this, and the server won't accept unless we sign it properly. And in our case, if we don't sign it properly, then it won't work. I don't know if I explained that right, but basically the point is we need the key to if we want to create our own cookie, we need to sign it with the key they've used to sign. It needs to match their key. And although the strings don't seem to match, it should work when it decodes it. More on that later. Hopefully it will make more sense. Apologies, I kind of put myself in a little hole there. All right, so let's just keep things moving on. I'm going to go ahead and try and make some progress. So I know that I can use this string here. I went off it. I can use this to basically sign the string. I'm going to go ahead and just, again, to save time, basically just paste this in here. I'm going to go ahead and leave out here CP to my thing has died because I mess with the size of the characters. All right, if I CP my fuzz to sign fuzz, or we can call it, say, like auto, I don't know, token fuzz.py. Then we open up token fuzz.py. I'm going to go ahead and basically just in fact, we don't really need half of this code. So we don't really need any of that code. I'm just going to go ahead and remove basically it all, since we don't actually need it. And then I'm just going to keep the bits I want. All right, let me just try and remember how I did this. So we're gonna need to create a function to basically make the request. So say test token. When I say token, I mean session, by the way. If I can type capital T, that'd be great. Token. Cool. And then we want to take the token as an input. So I didn't really know where to go when I first did this box. I was like, where the hell do I go? But then it hit me. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe our input is the session, which is quite a common thing when it comes to web pen tests. It's something quite often overlooked, especially when you're signing the token. They're not going to think, oh, this is a vulnerability, because they never really... It wasn't likely that the ability to sign tokens was released in the first place, so it's not often something that's covered. My point I'm trying to make basically is that this part hasn't been hardened because it's you have to make a few steps to get there in the first place, I guess you could say. I would certainly have that issue if I was doing a pen test. Okay, so I'm going to step back a little bit just to try and see where we're at. You can't make too many requests. I don't need the input. I'm going to go ahead and I'll keep this in here. I want to go ahead and just remove this. So with open for line, I don't need this part here or that part. yeah, we can basically remove all this. I'm going to keep the sleeper in there, and we want to go ahead and basically we need to give some kind of input, and we need to give some kind of input and assign it. So we create a dictionary, we assign our input to that dictionary. I will go ahead and print it so you can see in the final thing like this. And then we want to go ahead and ing equals line.strip. Cool. And then we want to go ahead and then go Flask-sign token. We also need to import from Flask-unsign import session. Did I call anything special? No, it's just called session. Cool. Find Flask-sign token ing. And then if we now run that, we should now, I'm just going to go ahead and print it so you can see how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and just exit this terminal, create a new one so it looks proper. Okay, cool. RL wrap, but we don't really need that. Python token fuzz.py. I messed something up there. Dev main because I haven't assigned anything to here. Cool. Run this now. No module named HTML. That's okay. Don't really know why it wants that, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it anyways. What did I mess up? It's because I'm not using the right version of Python. That's why. Name time is not defined. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and stick that back in. Cool. Have another go. All right. So now we can see our input and basically the tokens it's creating. I'm not really too fussed about template injection though in this case. I want to try something more interesting because our cookie isn't being reflected on the page. So what I did is I thought, okay, how would you determine if a cookie is legit or not? You would use some kind of maybe some SQL query. So that's pretty much what I did. So I just took this path here, payload box. In fact, I think I just wrote this to a local file, yeah. So I'm pretty sure if I just go to here, go let's see, code SQLi.txt, paste that in there, cool. And then we get to token fuzz, and then I'm going to go ahead and just open up SQLi.txt. And then we should now get a different output. I'm going to go ahead and just leave this so we get some space more. We get some more space back, like that. I can spell. Right, now we run this again. And now we're sending some injection stuff. We can't really see what's going on, but I'm going to go ahead and just so I can see what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and just take this token. I'm going to go ahead and just decode it, just so I can see, is it working for sure? You know what I mean? Like, don't really know why this is copied that twice. Oh, it's because copy, burp suite, paste, decode as base64, and we can see here we have basically some UUID stuff going on. This is the SQL injection. Okay, so this is a bit messy, and I don't really want to look at that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean it up a little bit. So I don't really want to look at this token, so I'm going to remove that. I also don't really care too much about the UUID. I'd rather just look at the plain token. And then I want to go ahead and actually I need to make the code to make the request. Okay, it's because it happens to have a space. Okay, nope, still doesn't like that. It's because I need to read this entire line. My bad. Alright, cool, run that. So now it should show us what it's doing, and I've got another bit printing out the result of that. It's not what I want. Alright, so basically the point I'm trying to make is that in the code we are sending this dictionary. We can see here, like, this is like some SQL injection-y stuff. Alright, so I need to go ahead and make the test token stuff now. Really, this is a case of basically making a request to the main page and then looking at the response. I've already got the code here just to save time. I'll go ahead and run through it. So we have burp URL. We assign the session to the token. So in my case, the token is our injection payload. So when we return the token, we want to go and pass this there. we want to go ahead and we'll take the token from here as it returns it, and then we want to go ahead and then pass the token into test token. And then we want to go ahead and go token, and then if we now paste, that should now give us some different output. So I'm not quite sure if I explained that right. Basically, what happens is we are running through each line in this file, stripping it, or actually maybe we're not stripping it. Oh yes, we are. We wait half a second to get rid of any rate limiting. We strip new lines. We then send the word in this file, or the line in this file, to sign it using the Flask-unsign module, using the key that we stole. We then return the signed version of that, which is like a base64 encoded string like this. We return that back to here. Then we then send that token into test token. This basically makes a request to the admin page, and then we just print out the response length and the time it took to respond. The reason we care about this is because we may get a different length of the page response, and we also may get a different timer, depending on, say, if there's a benchmark in there or something. This is kind of hard to read, so I'm going to do you guys a favor and go to lolcat. That should hopefully make it a bit prettier. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in RL wrap so it does it in like one go. At least it should do. Or apparently not. Usually it does, but I don't know why it isn't doing it. We should get some output in a sec, I guess. I don't know, actually. It's usually easier to read, usually nicer to read, but for some reason it isn't printing out nicely for us. Okay, so basically I'm looking here at the response length. We're getting lots of 290s and lots of like 1 second or so responses. If we keep going through here, it's a little bit hard to see, but basically we'll hit a point where we actually get a different kind of response. Like if you look here, we get actually a response with 1,000 or 11,299, and that is using this payload. Hi or A equals A. Oh, that's interesting. So that's some kind of SQL injection. When I first saw this, I actually got out my seat and was like, oh my god, there's no way. So I want to do some manual fuzzing now that I kind of know it works. I'm going to go ahead and remove this code here, because I no longer want to do that. I want to go ahead and use the trusty input here, as I tend to do quite frequently. Input, going to go ahead and unindent this. I know it's a little bit janky, I apologize. Going to remove this, and now we should be okay. I'm going to go ahead and now run it with lolcat appended. We should now make things a little bit easier. So if we do A, we should now get, this is our input here of UUID A, and then we get a 290. If I then do say A or 1 equals 1, we get a different response. I'm going to remove this because this is getting in the way. I don't really like it to be there. I don't know where it is. It's up here, point token, because I don't really like that it's printing it out. So if I now do like say, I don't know, my name, sec_aura, or 1 equals 1, we then get this, but if I do say 1 equals 2, we get a 290. So if it is true, we get this, and if it's false, we get this. Now, interestingly, actually, something I had access to at the start, but I chose not to pursue it, is if we're getting this, it means we're actually reading the admin page. And what that means is we can basically then become, well, maybe not the admin page, but the first user in the database. I'm going to go ahead and print out the token for that, and then we can go ahead and show that. Copy, hit enter, take this session token, right click it, go to my Mozilla Firefox, go up here, go to this, hit enter, refresh. Actually, we should probably go to the main page. We have an internal server error. This is probably because our token has broken something. We'll refresh. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just clean this Sakura thingy up, just to make it a little bit better. Should that work? Yeah, we've got 290 on that one. We need to go ahead and, oh, I know why that didn't work. It's because we had the 1 equals 2. We'll go ahead and use this token instead. Cool. You see we have 11,299. That is implicit that it is working. Go ahead and copy this, paste. Now we refresh. now it should say we're logged in as Chiv, which is, in this case, the admin. We can access main if we really wanted to, but it almost felt like it's cheating doing that, so I didn't really want to. In all honesty, didn't really. I wanted to basically dump the database. Was my thoughts, which is what I'm going to demonstrate. To be honest, you can probably skip across to wherever I say I end this process because it will be a long process, but it hopefully will be helpful. This entire thing's probably taken way longer than it should have done, but this is a learning experience, so screw it. All right, so this part is a manual injection part, or semi-manual because we're going to script it. But basically what I want to do is I want to go ahead and enumerate what's going on in the database, right? So 1 equals 1 is true. So therefore we can look at the stuff too. Let me go ahead and just remove all my background stuff to make it a little bit cleaner. All right, so if I do 1 equals 1, that is true. I'm going to go ahead and remove the token again because I don't want it in there. I don't want it in the way. I'm also going to remove the response timer because it's just getting in the way. All right, run that. Cool. So run this again. 1 equals 1 is true. Therefore, 1 equals 2 is false. All right, so what we can also do is we can then say, right, or then we can then go select, say 1 equals 1. In this case, that's true. Whereas if I do this, it's then false because what we're doing is we're basically, that is equal to the same as 1 equals 1 or 1 equals 2. So if we can do that, we can also select other stuff too. So for example, we could go ahead and like select, I don't know, the version. If there is a version, if that is the string that it's using. So in this case, select version is not equal to 2. But that's looking at the whole string. That is saying, does version, as in the whole string of version, which might be like MySQL 123, equal 2? And in this case, it does not. By putting the exclamation mark there, we're saying it does not equal 2, and therefore this is true. All right, so how do we actually use this? So what I want to go ahead and do basically is enumerate the database. And simply, the process for that is to say, right, I want to look at the first character of, say, the name of the database or the user and go from there. So I want to go ahead and go to select, say, in this case, the name of the thing. So in my case, let's say we go for database. And then we go equals 1. That's false. Does not equal 1 gives us true. That tells us that this query has actually worked. But obviously it doesn't equal 1 because that wouldn't work. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and go to substring, which will basically take an X character of the thingy. In this case, it will be the first character limited to 1. So offset 1. So the first character limited to 1 character. Basically, it's the first character. In our case, does not equal 1 is true, but say it's greater than, say, 100 is true. Is greater than 200 is also true. Maybe I messed something up there. That is because we're looking at substring, so the actual character. So really what I want to do is I want to go say equals, say I know that the first character is a 5, right? That's going to give us a 290. If it's a 4, it's going to give us a 290 as well. Yeah. Let me try and figure this out in my head how this is working. So equals substring should equal, I believe it should be 5, right? That is true. Oh, sorry, that is in this case false. And that is, yeah, okay. So the 290 is false actually, my bad. Whereas I think it's a 5. Clearly not. Maybe it's just the integer 5, and that's why it wasn't working. But anyways, the reason what I want to do is I want to convert to ASCII because that to be honest is a bit easier because we don't have to use characters that way. ASCII, we take the output of that and then we wrap that there, and then we can then say equals 1. That is false. However, greater than 1 is true, which now means we can basically like enumerate. So we can say, is it greater than 1? 1000 is yes. Is it greater than 100? Yes. Is it greater than 200? No. Okay, so where is it? So it can be, is it greater than 110? Yes. Is it greater than 120? No. Is it greater than 115? No. Greater than 1 113? Yes. Is it greater than 114? Yes. Greater than 115? No. Does it equal 115? Yes. Does it equal 114? No. Okay, so what is 115? We can go ahead and look at that. We can go ahead and go into Python -i. We can then go chur. The chur of 115 is s. Okay, so the first character of database, the reason I thought it was 5 earlier, by the way, was because I was thinking it was going to be the version, not the database. So the first letter is s. Cool, so now we know that, we can then script it. I'm cognizant we're low on time, so I'm going to go ahead and basically demonstrate. I'm going to try and copy as much as I can to make this a bit quicker. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and exit out here. I'm not low on time. However, I just want to make sure the video is not too long. CP token fuzz to be token fuzz, but with auto in front of it. I want to go ahead and then open auto token fuzz. The code as it is fine. The only thing I want to control is this input, basically. So I want to basically go ahead and just change how this works. I'm going to go ahead and create a function called enumerator. And what this will do is it will basically enumerate the string. So just to give that more context, so we know that 115 is the first character. If we go ahead and say do the second character, it will not be 115, but it might be say 80. I don't know, but basically we want to adjust this number and this number. And the way that works is we want to go ahead and say offset 1 to 100. That basically means 100 characters. Then 32 to 128 is the ASCII equivalent of those characters. All right, so first of all, we want to go ahead and basically look at a simple example of where we're looking at, well, we want to look at the username. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste this here, copy, I mean, and we want to go ahead and go ing equals fstrings, just put a few spaces here so we can see it clearly, or select ASCII, obviously in this case, backtick there, single tick, select ASCII substring, database 2, 1. I'm going to go ahead and change this to offset, and then go ahead and change this to ASCII. I've used 3 eyes because ASCII with 2 eyes is already taken. All right, so that should now basically say every character does equal ASCII. Remove that there, and then close that off. That should now work. And then we want to go ahead and just do some checks, basically, following that. So we are taking the token, we are signing it. In this case, we're passing our injection string into Flask-unsign token, as we have down here, assigning it to token. Then we're making then we're taking the response of the test session, and then we're basically saying is the length if confirm length. So we need to basically create a function to do the confirmation, basically saying does the string is the string greater than or equal to another number. So in my case, basically if it equals 290, then then we are good. If it does not, then we know where we're at. Equally, I can make this number like 11,000, whatever it was, 200. In my case, I have inverted it. It was 11,299. I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake of ease, put that there. Cool. And then now that might work. To be honest, pasting this code in is a little bit janky. But just to summarize, basically, what's happening is, to summarize, we can get rid of all this. Sorry. Enumerator. Cool. What's happening is we're opening up an enumerator. Basically, for every offset, as in every character, test what character is in ASCII. If the then sign it. Then if the response is equal to 11,299, that means the character is right. Otherwise, move on, basically. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and hopefully that will work. We will find out. Again, like I say, it's a tad janky because I'm kind of just trying to do this quickly. Test session is not defined. That is because I have named it something else. Cool. Hit go. Has no attribute text. Non-type object has no attribute text. That is probably because we are we're returning a non-type. Maybe I broke something in the process. Maybe I'm missing some code. Let me just check if I am. possible I have missed something. Not quite sure where it is, if at all. Basically, the reason we're getting the error is because this R doesn't have a .text attribute. In our case, test token isn't returning R. That is why, because obviously there's no R attribute if you are not returning one. Cool. So now we're getting a bunch of 290s. That is because we're printing out. But we should see, hopefully, if my copy and paste code works properly, we should see it find, there we go, an S. So I'm going to go ahead and remove whatever it is that's printing horribly. That. Go ahead and run that. So in this case, we're looking at the database. So in our case, we'll find out what it is. Just for the sake of confirming that our SQL injection works, we have an S. We have a H, so sh. While that's running, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next stage. So now we have the database. We want to go ahead and look at, well, what else is there? So in my case, I want to go ahead and look at basically the tables in our database. So shop is our table, basically. Shop is our database. I want to go ahead and look at the tables in that database. Now, the process for this is a little bit long, but that's okay. It's just a case of getting it right in our case, and not that one. In our case, I'll explain the code through here. Basically, what we're doing is we're selecting the ASCII equivalent of the schema name. The schema name is basically the database name from information schema.schemata. We don't really need to do this process, but it's there for reference. Basically, what this will do is it will pull down the database names in the database. So in my case, limit 31 gives us the word shop. I'll go ahead and remove that so you can go ahead and see for yourself. See, here we get shop there. And I go ahead and remove this again, run this again, and we should get shop again, assuming that my paste worked properly. Yep, see if we get an S. If I then say change this to a 2, I think we would get the word message. If the first character is M, then the database is message. Or messages, one of those. Wait for the M to come back, hopefully I'm right. Oh no, we got a P. So actually the P is for, I think it's performance or something like that. I'm actually getting mixed up with the tables. I think it's like performance schema. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that and we'll move on. All right, so now basically we know that our database is called shop. We can move on to the next stage. What I want to go ahead and do now is basically just take the available table names from our database. Sorry if I messed that one up. Basically what I mean is the database is called shop. We've enumerated all the available databases. We want to go ahead and look at all the tables in that database. All right, so in my case, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the exclamation mark because I've inverted it this time. Select the ASCII equivalent of the substring of the table name, basically the first character or the X character of the string, convert into an ASCII from the information schema.tables where table name equals table schema equals shop. Limit 31. Now I've used 31 in this case because it gives us, in our case, the users table. I'm going to go ahead and run this. And we should get users back, I recall. We'll find out though. It's a little bit slow. I may speed this up, but to be honest, I'm probably just going to be trying quick with it. Okay, obviously mess something up there. Or select ASCII substring table name offset 1 from information schema tables or table equals shop limit 31. I seem to have messed something up over here. There's like an S there for some reason. Should be equals. There we go. Have another go. Hopefully this time we'll get a U in the response. Yep, so we got a U. I want to go ahead and let it run so you can see for yourselves. But just again, to be quick, I'm going to go ahead and run the next one. Same sort of thing really, we're basically just building on top of our existing queries. So in terms of SQL, basically we have the database, then we have the table names within that database, and we have the column names within that table. In this case, we have user, it's making slow progress, but we have users. We have a limit of 6, 1. Basically what this means is we're the offset of 6. in this case, what was done basically is I went through each table manually. So, like for example, 4 will give us, I think, ID or username or something like that. So, yeah, I guess we can try it at least. But basically, what I did is I went through and just offset this till I got the relevant tables. So we have users there. Cool. Sweet. So we'll go ahead and run that again. We have an error. That is because we have an invert. Remove that. Basically, the invert will flip this this length thingy. I don't know why I did an exclamation mark. I just kept it in there and kind of left it in. But in this case, it's basically saying, are we getting a 11,299 response? If we are, then the value is true. Here we have an n. So I already know that this gives us the name table. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. So we have NA for name, just to save time. That gives us name. Go ahead and do a 5. That gives us, I believe it should be password perhaps. If the next one is P, then it's password. Again, just to be quick. So we have a name. We have what I assume will be, let's see what the next one is. We have P. That one will be password. And then I'm going to go ahead and offset it to 6. And run it again. And then we should have UUID. Again, just because of how slow it is, I'm going to go ahead and just, skip that process because I don't think anyone really wants to watch this part enumerate. But the point is it's iterating for each character. So U for UUID. All right, so now we know all of the table names. We want to enumerate the actual data within them. All right, so UU for UUID. All right, so the next part of the code is basically to take the actual content itself. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and copy. Go ahead and remove that. Remove this. Do the final one. In this case, we're setting the UUID from the users and limiting it to whatever. In this case, it's limited to 0. So basically, the first column, the first row of data. Yeah. I broke something. That's because the exclamation mark. Probably it is indeed. So again, slow process. So it's probably going to give us, if I recall correctly, an integer beginning with, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my notes have actually got in the original one. Okay, yeah, 129. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the integer number. You can see some of my process here. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the UUID because it's going to be slow. So I'm going to go grab both of these actually. Again, apologies for having to kind of cheat a little bit. This is very slow, but yeah, we have 129F60EA. In this case, it outputs to be the whole thing. You'll see here. So we have 129F60EA, and then we have here in our notebook, we have 129F60EA. And if I go ahead and just remove, if I go ahead and make the no longer UUID, so make it say password. And I rerun this again. We should get Chiv was here 7331. And you'll see the first letter will be lowercase c, the second letter a h. And basically we're just enumerating by adjusting these values here. So adjusting name, password, and UUIDs. In our case, let's see Chiv. So again, just to be quick, as I've said a few times now, I'm going to go ahead and just log in. Go ahead and log out. Go ahead and log in. Now we have the UUID. I'm going to go ahead and take this. We're going to go ahead and paste that there. I'm going to go ahead and grab the password. And boom, we are logged in. So that was kind of a long process that I have simplified. But just to summarize, basically we have got the database name. We also enumerated the available databases. We then looked at the table names within the database. In that case, we chose a shop database. Then we look for the columns within the users database, within the users table, which is within the shop database. And then we then enumerated to find name, password, UUIDs in there. We then took those values and enumerated them as you see in here above Chiv. And yeah, again, to save time, I haven't finished that one up. But I guess I can run it in the background and you can see that it auto completes. But anyways, now we into a next part of the application. We have a new message and a view messages. We go to messages and we have a staff ID of 1 posted. This fix then some kind of path. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Duplicate and paste. Okay, submit support ticket, welcome to support portal. I'm going to go ahead and just put hello and then some message. Okay, ticket has been posted, interesting. If I go over here, there's actually support area and we can see our input is there. All right, so what else can we do? So we know that our input is reflected. So we have requests from hello as in the username and our message. So immediately I was like, okay, well, the application was originally running what I imagined was Flask. So I was like, okay, right, let's try just something basic, config, as we did before. Paste that in there. Why would you need this in a contact value? Basically, this is the page telling us we can't use double curly braces. I was like, okay, what else can we do? Can we do, say, something else? In my case, I did a bit of Googling and I found a nice hack tricks page. You go ahead and just find it real quick. Okay, cool. Go ahead over to here. Basically, HackTricks has a nice collection of ways of getting around server-side template injection measures. I basically went through these and just thoroughly found the ones that relate to me. In my case, Jinja, Jinja, or in okay, my page has died. This happens quite frequently with HackTricks recently, unfortunately. I don't really know why. But basically, if we keep going through here, we find that there is a nice exploit. Oh my god, the page is just dying on me. If it would let me get to the content, that would be fantastic. But basically, what's happening is we're going to try and do some server-side template injection, but the page has got a WAF in place. Just not right now letting us actually get to the content to actually demonstrate how this may work. Try and get over to it. It really does not like me. No worries. I will need to use that later, but for the second, what I will do is I will look at, I think it's on security, SSTI. I spelled that horribly, I think. Yeah, close enough. Yeah, so we have on security. Now, interestingly enough, the guy who wrote the box, his handle is Chiv, and this guy is the owner of that account. So the guy who wrote the box is actually the guy who wrote this post, so it seems appropriate. We can go ahead and use some of their examples. In this case, we can't use double curly brackets, so we can't do that. But he talks about being able to use this. So I tried this originally. Basically, what this would do is it will just, catchy password and then, netcat to something. Just want to see how it would work, really. Paste that in there. And we get an error. You seem to have hit our WAF with the following chars. So we can't use underscores, single ticks, or if. Interesting. In the end, I then used, when it wants to load, I used HackTricks' page, which basically shed that you can't use, I think it's double quotes. And in my case, I used that, and then that gave me what I was after. The page is probably going to die in a second. It's a little bit unstable. Here, so exploit SSTI without double brackets, double quotes. Now, if we have a look at the actual code itself, we can see here that there's no double bracket and no double curly braces. There are double quotes, but that's okay. We're using a hex encoded / here, I believe. But we can probably check that out in. I think it's a /. I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and decode as ASCII hex. Yeah, I think it's a / if I recall correctly. It's just maybe that's what we want, just 5f. I think 5f is, oh, it's an underscore. My apologies. Yeah, so basically what's happening is with our payload, if I copy a bunch of this, you will see that what we're doing is we're using Flask syntax to basically say, hey, I want you to give me, sorry, let me just try and get this so I can explain it properly. decode as ASCII hex text. Let's see, it does not like the \x's. Is there a normal hex? There we go, that's probably what I want. Or apparently not. Decode as hex. It's probably taking it all as hex, that's why. Anyways, the point is that it's using these encoded strings to get around the way that the application is reading the content. So this is basically going to become __ globals, which is basically trying to refer to the thing that will allow us to run a process. Again, the page just dies, it's awkward to see. But basically what we're doing is we're creating a request object, and then within that we're then using what's called an MRO. Can't remember what it stands for, but basically we are indexing our way basically up the tree to basically get to here. So the way that Python works basically is it's built on, I believe it's like it starts off with at least in Python 3 it starts off with an object, and then within there is the attributes the object has access to. I haven't explained that. That isn't the best explanation I applied. I should probably do some more research on how it works. But basically the point is that we are accessing the attributes of this request global parameter using the square brackets, and then we can basically make a way up the tree to get to the global. How do I explain this? Basically, what we're doing is we can access the OS module, and then access within the OS module the popen via that by escalating to the top tree of request. I did this in my OSWE. It's been a little while since I did this, but basically the point is what we're doing is we're trying to climb up the tree to get to the process open. If we were to just do this, we'd get basically a list of all the things it has access to. So for example, OS, file, popen, or maybe not popen, like the modules basically OS, sys, that kind of thing. So within OS we might have like popen or trying to think of one, a system or something like that. Basically what it is it gives us code execution by trying to access the root of this request. Anyway, I want to go ahead and move on before things take too long. So the part we need to change is this part here. In my case, what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and basically create a reverse shell. This should work if I go ahead and put it over here, paste. That gives us this. Basically, just echoing a reverse shell code with no new line to base64, all on one line. Copy, selection, go into here, and take this long string, like that. Copy, go to here, shells 1 through 37, which is just my little script to basically open up a reverse shell. Go to here, go to where I was before, somewhere around here, paste that in there, hit submit, and that should drop as a shell. Indeed it does. So now we have a shell. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my shell to be something more substantial. Although in this case, it doesn't matter massively because, as you'll see in a second, we can obtain SSH access. So now we have a better shell. Basically what I did is I had a look around the where I spawned. In here, if you look in app.py, we can see basically how it's all working. I highly advise you read the source code to actually figure out how it's going. Part of me wants to read the code, part of me is looking at how long this video has been and thinking, is it worth it? But basically, the vulnerability in our SQL injection lies in where it is looking at a cookie and saying select, where is it now? There should be a select part in here somewhere. Yeah, so like select all items where name equals this, select this and that. God, I can't find it. But basically what it's doing is it's doing an SQL query on our cookie. And that's where the SQL injection lies. All right, so there we go, yeah. So set name from users where UUID equals here. And basically what that's doing, I guess, is getting our username. And in our case, it's an SQL injection string, so it is dropping it. All right, so now we have shell anyways, I'm going to get moving. So I ran my scripts. They found a few bits, but really the main point to look at is look into Chiv's home directory. In here, there's a user.txt. Awesome. Let me go ahead and just remove this out of the background so you can see. All right, we put poo. Minimize. All right, cool. So go into cd.ssh, cat id rsa, take the SSH key, go into here, create a new tab, call it SSH. Cool. Go to code id rsa, paste that in there. Oh, apparently didn't actually copy. Copy. Put a new line for formatting. Go to here, and then we want to go ahead and chmod anything with RSA, SSH, not root, but Chiv at spider, passing in the key. Cool. Now we are SSH as Chiv. Now we are in here, we can go ahead and look at what's running. So in my case, root is running a few things, namely, they are running a game. The reason this is interesting to me is because if we go back to if we look in our original thing here, maybe I should have done SSH, but it's fine. var ww, there's actually a game directory that we can't access, which means it's probably running some kind of web server or something. We can't access that. So I was curious and I was like, all right, how do I see that? So I went to netstat, if I can spell right, netstat -tunlp. Basically what this will do is it will print out all the listening ports. We can see here that there's a port 8080. I'm going to go ahead and kill that. We get a login. I'm going to go ahead. I think it's -R to follow. Is it -R? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the flag is to follow. But maybe it is up here. Because I think I have it in my GoBuster stuff. I think it's maybe it's no. I'm not sure what the following thing is, but basically, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and inspect it more directly. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. I'm going to go ahead into set up a, there we go, set up a redirector. So 8081 will be routed via localhost to 8080 on the Chiv host. Basically, what that means is we're setting up an SSH tunnel. All connections from 8081 on localhost will be forwarded to the Chiv host. For example, if I now go to localhost 8081, yes, the page. Oh, and never mind. It turns out I'm using that already. I'll go ahead and exit out of this and use 8082, like so. Go ahead and now change this to 8082, and now we have access to some internal page. Alrighty, so now we have this, we can go ahead and log in, and it says welcome. Hey, interesting. Go ahead and log out. Go ahead and just put in some random stuff, and it basically returns our name on the page. Interesting. So the first thing I did when I looked at this was like, oh, does this do anything? Nope. Go to login as say A, or maybe something more interesting. Go subscribe. Cool. And then go to right click, inspect element, go to storage, take this token. Now, originally when I first did this box, I just tried to basic encode it. But then I was like, oh wait, it's a fast token, so this probably won't work. But we can get a rough gist of what's happening. -D. Invalid input. Basically, it doesn't like our input. So I needed to use basically Flask-unsign again. So Flask-unsign decode. This will decode the cookie. So it doesn't need to be signed because the cookie itself, it doesn't need to be signed because we're just decoding it. And here we have some string. I'm going to go ahead and basically take that. Take that string. This is a long delete process. Only a few more seconds. Okay, so if I now go ahead and take that same string we took before, I think it it should be this, and paste that in. We now get what you can see here is we have some XML that says subscribe. So initially when I first saw this, I was like, we can just change this to 1 and become an admin. That didn't really give me any further access, but then I was like, wait a minute, it says XML. So what can we do with XML? So I know that when I submit the name, say subscribe, to the page, it then puts in some XML. So I was like, right, okay. I can basically control this variable. All right, so I want to go ahead and look at the request. So something that's quite useful to do in burp is look at, basically what's been sent when you make a request. So in my case, I don't have that port in my scope because I have it disabled. So I want to go ahead and just remove the scope for a second. Then hopefully if I remake the request, it should now be in my burp. Or apparently not. Okay, well, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and open up my proxy, intercept. I'm going to go ahead and just log out. My intercept is, I guess, not forwarding, perhaps. Yeah, so for some reason my burp isn't forwarding my request, but that's okay. I need to figure out how to do this otherwise. I don't know why it isn't catching my request, or maybe it is now. Okay. Well, no worries. Anyways, I can look at the request and basically go from there. It's annoying that it isn't what's the word? Intercepting. It'd be nice if it would do. Maybe that will be what's up with it. Intercept is off. Oh, I know why it's intercepting. I don't have my target scope set. All right. There we go. Now that's working. Me being stupid. All right. So now we can see here we have a username and a version. Now, interestingly, actually, if we take this version, we change this to say 2222, and we forward it, and then we go to our. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this just so we get the latest version of the cookie. Take that. Go ahead up to here, and deleting this will be a whole just annoying. I wish there was. I feel like there's a shortcut in Bash to delete a big string of stuff, but I don't know what it is right now, so I'm gonna have to just deal with it for the moment. Cool, and now we have API version, a bunch of 2s. So basically we control this and we control this. So sweet. So immediately I was like, right, okay, basically this is XML injection. XML Entity Injection. So what I need to do is I need to basically create an external entity here, and I need to reference it down here. So simply what I want to do now is I want to go ahead into my intercept, go ahead and log out, hit forward, go to log in with, say, A. Annoyingly, my WebSockets is getting in the way. Damn it. Log out again. Go to AAA, burp suite intercept on, sign in. Cool. Now we want to go to repeater, and I basically want to just see what I can do. So I know that XML Entity Injection will give me read access or something of the page. In this case, it's a little bit weird how the page works, but basically we can control this and this. The reason I say that is basically if we say drop in some XML, it will give us an internal server error, and that isn't ideal. So we keep the version because we want to keep that. What we want to do next is we want to inject our own little bit of XML. So simply, what I want to do is I want to add in this little bit of code here. Basically saying doc type foo entity username system @ password. Now if we hit send on there, we also need to go and username here. Basically what this will do is it will then reference it. I will show you when it runs. Control. We want to go ahead and just control U that. Hit send. We broke something there. It's probably because we have URL encoded. something we didn't need to. URL encode that, so I want a URL encode. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call and it's annoying. I have to put my phone on airplane mode. All right, sorry. So and username equals version. Okay, that didn't work because I think I need to URL encode this. We should now work. Cool. If I go to attachments, not attachments, original session, paste this here, go to my burp, close. Apparently that didn't even work. I don't know why I did that way. Request in browser, original session, go to copy, paste. Hopefully this will actually work this time. There we go. Now we get to see welcome error. All right, so that's now working. No, it's not working. So I'm getting a phone call and it's totally putting me off. Lost track where I was. So we're getting an error basically now. Turn my everything off. All right, so we're getting an error basically. So I spent a while basically trying to figure out what was going on. And in the end, it turns out basically very similar to say in SQL. We want to basically comment the rest out. So if I do this, this will then comment the rest of the this out. For some reason, this fixed it. I wasn't entirely sure as to the reason it fixed it, but honestly, I was like, okay, well, that's like a comment, right? So maybe we want to comment the rest out or something, and that seemed to fix it. If I go to in the original session, and then I paste this here, getting another error. Maybe I broke something. Maybe it isn't that. Let's see what I have here. So and username, version 1, doc type foo. Let's see password. Just trying to figure out what I might have broken. Let me go ahead and URL encode it. Perhaps that's the issue. Although I doubt it because burp does tend to do most of the work for you. Okay, yep, still getting an error, interestingly enough. I know the issue. So basically it's because there was no semicolon here. Hit send, copy, request a browser, original session, copy, and paste. And now we get Etsy password. As our users, so it's saying welcome, and then Etsy password basically. So then I basically did some file enumeration as to what's on the system. In the end, the solution was basically just to take the root.ssh id RSA. I did try to get code execution, but that didn't seem to work. You can only really get code execution, to my knowledge, using, say, PHP's version of XML reader. Welcome back, begin RSA key. So go to view source, copy, go to here, nano ID RSA, not that one, root ID RSA. Paste, new line, save, SSH root, doesn't like it, chmod. Cool, and then now we are root, sweet. And then we can go ahead and cat /root, I can type right, root.txt, and then boom, we have the flag. Sweet. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, everyone. Few hiccups during there. I apologize. I was just trying to get a lot of content in a short amount of time. I will include the scripts to my exploitation somewhere. I will probably link it in the description to like GitHub or Notion or something like that. Feel free to leave any comments, like, subscribe, etc. I'm using a new microphone, the Blue Yeti X. Still kind of figuring it out, so apologies if there's been some audio bumps or whatever. Still trying to figure out, what works for me. To be honest, the whole channel so far has really been a test of me refining. I don't think I'll actually get where I want to be for another 10 or 20 other videos. I've got a lot of work to do and a lot of quality to deliver when I get there, because I'm still, like I say, very much amateur. But I'd like to say thanks for watching, and hope we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment any feedback. Take care, guys. Take care. Bye.